Hey everybody, even though no one is here yet, and that's okay. It is a Monday afternoon, but I told you all I got some sporadic days off, and it just so happens that I am off today. And I wanted to do a live. Whether people come and watch it later is fine. If you're feeling overwhelmed this week or just this day, just in this moment, don't watch this video because this video will not uplift you at all. um, I just wanted to make this video because around the time that the president this year was elected, there was like some fear after that, maybe even prior, of a civil war occurring. And people were saying, oh, the states are going to separate. There's going to be some wars. Like people were fearing that type of thing. And I told you all I drive for a living, and driving for a living, it allows me to get out throughout my county, not throughout the state, not throughout the city, but more so throughout the county, because where I drive, excuse me, I dropped my notes because I didn't want to be all over the place with this video. But anyway, where I drive, I do get to see like surrounding cities of the main city, the major city. And it has opened my eyes to a lot of things being out here on the road, being in the transportation industry. And it had me begin to question, are we sure we're not already in a civil war, or in some sort of war, a domestic type of war that isn't exactly, bombs going off, or how we have been taught in school a war is supposed to look like. And I say this just based off of my own personal experience. So I don't know what the exact titles of these type of wars that I believe is occurring. First of all, overall, everything. I always believe that there is a spirit, I always currently believe, as things have been revealed to me, that we are in a spiritual war. I do not believe it's been anything different from the moment we are born into this physical form to the moment we leave. I do believe that this is a spiritual war, first and foremost. I don't believe too much about this life in terms of what is meant outside of a spiritual war. I just believe that we come here because we and this, everybody has their opinion about why we're here, but the way I see it, we're come here on assignment. There's a reason why we're here. Then eventually we shed this body and we continue on. So I try not to get too flustered with the things that are I try not to get too flustered with the things that are occurring on this, in this physical realm, because eventually I'm going to leave it anyway. So again, that's just me. I just feel like, this is more so of a spiritual war. But with that being said, I noticed there was a time period where many were concerned that we were either going to be in a civil war or that we were going to be at war with another country. But as I drive around in the transportation industry, I realize I personally think we are already at war, but just in many different type of ways. So for example, and y'all don't laugh at me, but yeah, I do believe this is a war. So let me tell y'all something. I go into Dollar Tree, right? And some of y'all may have some similar experiences, but I went into Dollar Tree because my children love Dollar Tree. And this elderly woman asked me if I could use a price checker. First of all, when did they start putting a price checker into Dollar Tree? If everything is $1 and recently increased to $1.25, why would a price checker be needed in Dollar Tree? So I went into Dollar Tree because my children love going there. And this elderly woman stops me and she's standing at the price checker and she goes, "Can you please check these items for me? I don't know how to use this thing." And I'm being so stubborn, and I tell the elderly woman, "Ma'am, that everything here is $1.25 just about, and the items you're holding is $1.25, because the items she was holding was like basic household products that I normally buy all the time." I checked those items on the price checker, and why did those items come up to $1.50 a piece? I said, what the heck is going on? So apparently Dollar Tree, that once not too long ago was $1, that not too long ago increased to $1.25, has now increased some of their items, if not most of their items at this point, because who knows, because that was a couple of days ago, who knows what it is today. They have increased their items to $1.50. I am astonished. I mean, I hate to sound petty, and I don't feel like that's petty because now instead of back when you could buy 3 items from Dollar Tree for $3, you now can buy 2 items from Dollar Tree for $3. Like that matters. So they're slowly creeping up on us, and it's not just the fact that they put in other items that are no longer $1. Like they let you know, hey, this is now $5, this is $10. They do have those type of items, but they do label them. Now they have a ton of items that are more than $1. They are like they're not even $1 anymore. I don't think anything in Dollar Tree is $1 anymore. It's like $1.50. But anyway, so that's like to me kind of like a type of war in itself. And y'all, I'm not ignoring your comments. I'm just trying to make sure I don't lose my train of thought because I lose it very easily. You know, I really do lose my train of thought very easily. But in myself, that's kind of like a economic war in itself, in my opinion. The way that items are being increased, that, you know, the quality of the item didn't change. The quantity of the item didn't change. As a matter of fact, if anything, the quantity of some of these products are actually decreasing. But the prices, they don't even stay the same. They're increasing. If the quantity is not increasing and the quality is not increasing, then why the heck would the price start to increase? So that was one of my reasons why I felt like, y'all sure it's not some sort of type of war. I don't know, an economic war or something that is happening right now. Another thing too that I noticed is, you know, customer service. If we want to go back to being in stores, oh my gosh, what happened to customer service? I am not the only one who's saying that. It seems like after 2020, a lot of things change. And one of the things that I find have really changed is customer service. It's like you go into these stores nowadays, nobody gives a crap. Nobody cares. Everybody is miserable. That whole, oh, let me see your supervisor, or I'm going to call corporate, that holds no weight anymore. Back when things used to be priced a certain way on a shelf, and you could go and tell a cashier or a manager, hey, this was actually this price on the shelf versus what it is now ringing up on the shelf, and they would honor it. That is no longer. No one is doing anything like that. If they still are, y'all let me know in the comment section. But I can tell you, as somebody who reluctantly has to shop, whether it be for groceries, school items, or whatever for my household, yeah, I realize that is no longer the case. And on top of that, prices not being honored as they are labeled on the shelf, customer service just sucks. It seems like a lot of people are miserable. A lot of people just don't care. Flip side of that, though, to defend those who work in customer service, because Lord knows I can make a video about that in itself because I used to work in customer service. To defend some of the individuals, though, in customer service who may have these type of moods or attitudes, I have to say some of us as the individuals being serviced as customers, rather, we're nasty as well. We come into these spaces of other people's work settings with attitudes and an air of arrogance, like, oh, you gotta do what I tell you to do, or you gotta accept the way I treat you when I walk in this room, because if you don't, then you'll lose your job. Many of us have that attitude as customers, and therefore some of us seem to be surprised when someone working in customer service dishes back out that same mood and that same attitude. If they reflect it back to us as an employee and we're a customer, we tend to be like, oh, well, your customer service is horrible. But why would we go into someone's work setting and give them the type of attitude that we wouldn't want to receive back from them? Why would we even do something like that? So that brings me to my next point. Y'all, I just wonder what it's like where you are, but where I am, okay, which is like a major city surrounded by suburbs and other areas. But mind you, because of the work that I do drive. So it puts me around a lot of cities and around a lot of different people. But no matter where I go, I encounter people who seem to be a lot more selfish these days. People have a lot more, I don't know if it's mistrust, a lot of anger. I don't care who the person is. I don't care the ethnicity or whatever. People are a lot more angry. People are a lot more frustrated. People are a lot more impatient. That's another thing too. Like if they have to wait a little bit in line for a little bit of short length of time, they're going off. They're demanding another register be open. First of all, nobody told you to go into a Walmart on your 15-minute break from work to purchase an item and join a 20 items or less line of a Walmart, because it doesn't matter if Walmart has a 20 items or less line or not. And mind you, in a lot of areas, Walmart took out their self-checkout registers where I'm at, but then there's areas they didn't. So with that being said, you cannot expect fast service anymore. It just doesn't exist in a lot of places. And especially if you go to like a Walmart is a department store where a ton of people shop. We know this. So why would you go on your break and then flip out about not being able to get in and out of a Walmart or any store nowadays? Like, it's like we expect everything to be instantaneous. We want everything instant. We want it right away. We want it on our demand. Which brings me to my next point: road rage. This is where I truly believe there is a subliminal civil war happening when it comes to driving on the road. And again, this is going to vary. I just so happen to live in a major city, and I travel throughout the outskirts of my city and the suburbs and things like that because of the type of work I do. So I am traveling throughout the whole county, and I see it very prominent. I see the different type of atmospheres, yet some of the same similar behaviors despite the atmospheres I'm in. For example, road rage. Oh my gosh, there was a time people stopped on red lights. When I tell you, no matter the time of the day, if I ever had seen anyone not stop at a red light, it was usually like super early in the morning. The light turned red. That person checked the intersection because honestly, no one's around. So they may go, I don't agree with it. I'm not doing it. But there are people who had moved that way. And I can't knock it, even though, yeah, you're not supposed to go on red. But how was I to really, like I wasn't really tripping because no one's there. It's 3 a.m. No one's at the intersection. You go. Not today. Today, people run that red light no matter what time of the day, no matter who's at the intersection. I assume that's how some of these accidents are happening, how some people are probably getting struck by vehicles. Speaking of, no one's doing the speed limit. People are doing 40 on the 25, if not more than that. People are doing 60 in the 35. And when they get on the freeway, forget about it. There is no such thing as 60 miles per hour or 50 miles per hour. They are doing like 100. And it is crazy. It's gotten to the point where folks tailgate you and you're doing the speed limit. You could be doing 35 and they're tailgating you and they're honking at you to go faster. And you're like, I'm doing the speed limit. So now it's pressure on you to catch up with this new unspoken speed limit, but the speed limit never changed. Like this is the kind of craziness that I am referring to. Folks don't want to stop for people crossing in the crosswalks, don't want to yield to pedestrians that have the right of way. They want to cut you off if they feel like you're going slow. They want to cut you off in general. Some of these folks genuinely just don't know how to drive. We had a saying back in my day that some of these folks got their license out of a Cracker Jack box, meaning you just can't drive, and we don't know how the hell you got your license. But that used to be a saying, and my goodness, when I drive now, and mind you, that's what I do for a living currently, I look around and I just be like, I just want to pull over and walk. I just want to pull over, get off this road and get away from y'all, because I don't know how some of y'all got y'all license. Some folks are turning from the left lane to bust a right on a corner. So you're jumping a vehicle in the right lane, turning from the left lane so you can bust a right onto the next street. Like that's the wackiness I've been seeing. And it gets wackier, of course. And I do believe maybe some of these things contributed to the increase of car accidents that happened. Because earlier this summer, I believe it was Memorial Day, because Labor Day is coming up. Memorial Day weekend or whatever, there were a ton of accidents reported in the major city near us. And they were taking out public transportation bus shelters. And if you've ever seen a public transportation bus shelter, you get what I'm saying. Like, these cars were speeding and racing, doing, and that's another thing too. A lot of these racing, I don't know if it's called drag racing or what, the spin outs. There was car meetups where they do the spin outs, busting the donuts in the middle of the street. A lot of that was occurring in the city as well. They were taking out bus shelters, like public transportation bus shelters, which sucked because they were taking them out in like the inner city, and elderly people or anybody with some sort of disability, or just somebody who just want to sit the hell down when they get to a bus stop, they would no longer have a way to sit down because some fool the night before decided they wanted to do some tricks in their vehicle or speed or whatever, and basically just wiped out the complete bus station with their vehicle. But thankfully, public transportation went ahead and replaced these bus shelters like almost immediately, because I would say by the next week after the bus shelter was taken out, and this is multiple bus shelters, by the way, and one in particular just kept being hit. But thankfully, public transportation still went ahead and replaced the bus shelters. So that thankfully occurred. So with that being said, and mind you, I also used to be a public transportation driver. I was one last year. I was driving, the public transportation, the big buses that take folks from wherever to wherever in the city and a little bit outside the city. I left, okay, because what I also noticed, and again, this is probably just location based, I noticed that in my city, there was suddenly an increase of homelessness, as well as what I believe, and I'm no doctor or whatever, but I can see out my own two eyes, what I believe to be people with some serious mental health issues and possibly drug addiction problems. And what is happening now is many of these individuals are sleeping in bus shelters, public transportation bus shelters, as well as riding public transportation all day long, becoming a nuisance to those who use the service, such as public transportation, to get back and forth for work. And then, keep in mind, we have school children who also use public transportation and have to be amongst these individuals who are homeless, as well as possibly, have some sort of addiction problems, as well as mental health issues. So, with that being said, that's another change. That's another dramatic change. When I was a little younger and I was catching the bus, probably like high school age, because I think that's when my mom allowed it, there might have been a couple of crazy folks, as we called them, sorry to have to use that word, but that's what we called it. Like, oh, it's some crazy person at the bus stop. You just be aware, like, oh, it's one or two. It was an anomaly. Nowadays, it is everywhere in the city that I'm from. Like, it's everywhere. And not even just in the city I'm from. It's spreading out because they can't all stay in the city. And I actually had a security guard when I was driving the big bus, the public transportation bus last year. A security guard that worked at the mall of our downtown said to me, he was like, they bus in these individuals from a different city. They bus them in from different cities, and we take them. They call them their less desirables. And they bus them into our city, and they leave them downtown with nothing but bus passes. So they have nowhere to live, but they'll have a bus pass to just basically ride around the city and be a nuisance to the city. And I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying like we need to forget about these people. No, they're people too. And with all the real estate that this country has and the resources that this country has, it made no sense to me that the country doesn't consider these people asylum seekers, individuals who should be housed and put into shelters and taken care of and treated for whatever they are going through. And they're actually already here. But that's a whole nother story. And this is what I'm saying. Like, are we sure we're not already in some sort of civil war? Last but not least, from my notes, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that we could touch on. I'm going to look at the comments before I get off. So thank you all for being patient with me. Last thing I want to touch on, and there's so many other, I know there's so many other things that are happening, things just within some homes as well, because my goodness, is it me? Or did everybody else see the increase of domestic partner homicide? Like, I don't care what it is. I'm not about to put it all on the men. It is more common. We've been seeing men killing their families, killing their girlfriend. But y'all, the women have flipped it too. The women is taking out there, and I don't even know if I can say that word on here, but I'm not looking to be monetized for this video. This is stuff I've been wanting to talk about. I've been seeing the women taking out their men now too. And then that's not even including like domestic violence. I'm just talking in terms of the ending, like the finality. Like these folks are taking each other out this year, left and right, and that's just domestic partner homicide. I haven't even began to get to the so-called mass shootings, as well as the the other, I forgot the other term that folks use, when it's like shootouts, drive-bys, things like that. Like there seemed to be a great increase, just in my opinion, or unless the news is doing a good job of just putting that out there. But it to me, it seemed like a lot more violence, like a lot more violence happening, a lot more shootings. Like folks just don't know how to fight no more. Everybody want to fight, everybody want to pull out a gun. Nobody fight. Like I have to wonder why. Why is that not a war? Is that not already a war? Why are people immediately picking up a gun? What happened? Because again, when I was younger, and I'm 39, just so everybody know. When I was younger, it was like you pull out your fist, you fight with your fist. I wasn't a fighter. I didn't want to fight nobody, but I knew that if I was going to get into a fight, a gun never crossed my mind. It was all snaps. I better go do a couple of push-ups to get ready to either get my behind whooped or to whoop some behind. But it never was me thinking I needed a gun. And woo, the things that are happening now, and getting back to the domestic partner homicide, that too seemed to be like an increase. I'm hearing a lot, not seeing, thank God, not seeing, but hearing a lot about individuals killing their spouse or hurting harming their family, killing their family. I think here locally, not too locally, but in a surrounding city, there was a young man who took out his uncle and his brother and then shot two police officers. I'm not sure if y'all heard about that as well. I'm like, geez, I don't know what the hell happened this year. Like, oh my gosh. I think the last thing I wanted to close out with was I might have gotten to everything, y'all. Oh, and also, okay, forgive me, y'all. Last but not least, there's other things. Like I said, there's so much going on. But another thing too I had thought about was our children. Because as a homeschool mom, I always like to, say that that's the title of this channel, basically. Our children. It always comes back to our children and us saving our children, because if they are supposed to be this so-called future, we are supposed to be protecting them and keeping them safe. And what I noticed here where I am again, this increase of hearing about children being killed, caught in the crossfire, or even like some of the teens, which I still consider to be children. By the way, I had did this little short about stop calling these young black boys and young black men YNs. Everybody know what the YN stands for. I don't think I need to say it on here. If you don't, you'll have to look it up. We need to stop calling them that. We like to say in one breath, life and death lies in the power of tongue, but then we turn around and we call each other all these degrading things. And we're speaking that over ourselves, like it or not, we are. So I don't know if it's been brought to anybody's attention or if we really thought about it. And I know not everybody is calling young boys and young what is considered to be black, because I hate using that term. We know we're not black. We're not black. We're not black, okay? But we know that's, the label we've been given and foolishly accepted here. But with that being said, we need to stop calling our young men and our boys and our men, but I think that's the reason why it's YN, because it's targeted to the youth. Stop calling them YNs. They're not YNs. And us calling them that is speaking that over them. That's how we begin to view them. That's how we begin to perceive them. How do we ever expect anybody else to see us as human, which I don't expect that. I feel like whatever we do and however we move amongst ourselves, no one else will have a choice but to fall back and respect that. If we make it clear that we respect ourselves, that we are here to defend ourselves and each other, if we make that clear, then how can anything outside of that prosper? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all know I love Dr. Rick Wallace on YouTube, and I always say Dr. Rick Wallace was a wonderful individual. You have to look him up, but he had a YouTube channel called The Black Voice. He passed away last year in July, but he had a YouTube channel called The Black Voice. And one of the things Dr. Rick Wallace always quoted, he said it was an African proverb that said, if there's no enemy within, then the enemy on the outside cannot harm us. Meaning if we as a people protect ourselves and protect one another and show that we value ourselves and value one another, then how can anything on the outside come against us? And I know with that being said, unity seems far, away. I don't believe that's necessarily true. I believe that can be accomplished in bite-sized chunks, meaning we just build our own communities, and they may not be the biggest community. It just take like-minded people with like-minded goals. So it's gonna more than likely be bite-sized, because so much has happened to indoctrinate us and keep us from thinking that way. We weren't, not all of us were even raised that way. So, oh my gosh, to try to teach an adult and anyone, a little older to be that way is going to be difficult. But you take what you can, you create your own tribe, and it may not be a ton of people. So that's why I say bite-sized chunks. And some people are followers. If they see that is happening, they may want to be a part of it. Like, wow, I didn't know that existed. I want to get to that. I want to be a part of it. So with that being said, getting back to my point, the whole calling these young men and young boys YNs, I totally disagree with. I don't think we should do that, because I do believe that is us speaking this over our young men, and it starts to create a perception of what we think young black boys and young black men are, who we think they are, is based off of this title YN. I do not think we need to keep carrying that title. I don't think we should be labeling these children that at all. To me, they're just children. Granted, some people are out here their age, doing some vicious things, some very vicious things, and we can deal with those individuals accordingly, not start labeling them YNs, but deal with them accordingly, because I just think that's a bad idea. And we can go into more of that later. Y'all, thank you for your patience. So again, I'm not sure how we think a civil war isn't already here. And of course, I do believe that this whole land is just a spiritual war. This whole life is a spiritual war. But I'm going to look at the comment section. So let me go back up. Free Thinker, thank you for joining me. Yeah, I know. We do not. And Free Thinker said, we've yet to be freed and we don't have full control over our resources right now. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Somebody, y'all, I need to stop scrolling on Instagram. I don't know how many of y'all on Instagram, and I'm not on there to be on there socializing. I'm on there because I like the knowledge that some people drop in their videos. I heard TikTok is like that. I don't do TikTok at all, because I don't want that many social media platforms. But there's an individual, I don't know his name. I don't even know the Instagram platform I saw it on. He was talking about grass. He was talking about how people have front lawns and how that came about. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, because again, I didn't fact check, but y'all discuss this in the comment section if this is true or not. Drop some knowledge on me. But he said people used to have gardens in their lawns. Like, they used to have gardens. They used to be self-sufficient, so they would grow their food. That was like the norm. Now, at a certain point, not even just now, but at a certain point, it became a thing where you don't have a garden in your front yard. You cut your grass, because the thought was that, if we get people to stop using their land to create their own resources, we can control what they eat. We can control what they basically put in their bodies, and we can control it economically. Like, we can make money off of them. So now we have just regular cut grass, whereas we could use that space to grow our own food. So Free Thinker, you saying we don't have full control over our resources right now, and I know resources is major, like it goes beyond just food, but I do believe like that's one of the greatest things. Every time we turn around, food increases. Every time we turn around, they're putting chemicals in our food. I don't know what's real or what's fake anymore with our food. And also, we got so many recalls. My relative is always sending me videos or videos as well as articles about what has been recalled. I don't know what to eat, y'all. I just want a bottle of water. I'm just done. So I'm going to continue to read these comments. And even if we did have control, they're now tainted because of them pollution. Yeah, that's true too. I guess that kind of goes with what I'm saying. They're going to price us out simple. They're forcing us to let go, but we're choosing to hold on to their system. It's that simple. And I agree. I'm not much better, Free Thinker, in terms of this system. I'm not much better because I am working in this system. And I think about myself, like many others, like some of us, unfortunately, are in a position just in the present time that we do work for the system. So we're part of the problem. We're keeping that system going. But then it's like, I can't really judge too much, because if that person retracts from the system too soon, how are they going to pay their bills? I can't pay their bills for them. So with that being said, I think, there's always got to be a plan in place of how you're going to get out of it and still sustain a lifestyle that you can live and be able to pay for whatever you need to do, whether it be feed your family, keep a roof over your head, whatever that is. So free thinker, I wholeheartedly agree with you. They raise the prices and we still choose to buy them versus going directly to Earth for what we need. I do like that. There's another YouTuber, and y'all, I can talk all for days about social media. There's another YouTuber who he always says everything we need is from the earth, and y'all might know who he is. I can Jezebel, something like that. His name is Jazbel, something like that. He's like, everything we need is here on the earth. Everything we need is from the earth. And I do like watching his videos and starting to learn more about that. They're speeding, going nowhere but earth, a job, a business. That means nothing to God. That's true. That is very true. Free thinker, I love your comments. Hi, Monique. Thank you, Monique, for tuning in. We won't help each other, so the result is homeless, increase, no community. Yeah, you definitely on it, free thinker. You already know what's up. It is also why I do not, this is Monique. It is also why I do not co-sign calling our neighborhood hoods. I agree. I agree, Monique. Again, I'm learning that. Life and death lies in the power of the tongue, and how we speak and how we see each other and how we see ourselves. Just the change really is just within us, making a change within ourselves to be able to change things around us, our own energy. So with that being said, like, yeah, I agree. I don't agree with calling our neighborhoods either. Maybe even neighborhoods. I haven't dissected that word. Words are spells, and that's why they use Black people to promote these phrases. Ratchet, thought, YN, these terms got popular in our name. My goodness, free thinker. Free thinker, do you have a channel? I'm going to click on your name and subscribe to you. I don't care if you got a channel or not. While I do not remember the exact scripture, there is a scripture about we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. Thank you, Monique. I believe that too. Monique need a channel. Somebody needs to encourage Monique to do some voiceovers if she doesn't want to get on camera. See you, Monique. Look like Monique got to go. True grass have no use for us anyway. Grow grass, so we go to the grocery store. Right on. Okay, thank you. Yep, Jabez. Lord have mercy, y'all. I said his name all wrong. So that is it. This live is already like 30 minutes. When I point, no. So free thinker. Yeah, sorry, free thinker. No, you're not negative. You're not negative at all. The crazy thing is, I don't know how long you've been aware of these things, but what I noticed too, and I'm gonna close out with this so I don't keep y'all all day. When I was younger, so my mom is from Alabama, right? And we know, like, people from the South, they just seen some things. They got that history for real. So my family came up here. Sorry, this phone almost fell. My family came up here in the generation of my grandmother, so they haven't even been up here that long. And most of them went back. They said nope. And then, by the way, I'm up north in Ohio. My family was like, nope, they didn't want to deal with this. They was like, they good. They went back to Alabama because they didn't want to be up here. They'd rather deal with whatever they go through down there than to come up here. But unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, my grandmother decided to stay. So upon staying up here, growing up, I was bussed out to more diverse schools and stuff. So I developed a diverse mindset. I developed a mindset, of course, of feeling like this system is correct, and feeling like, because I had a couple of friends that were others, and I'm not trying to put everything on, white people, whatever, but I'm just saying, having that indoctrination and feeling like, because I had a couple of friends and others, I couldn't see what my people had been through. I couldn't see that. I wouldn't see it. I kept telling and so basically my mother would try to tell me otherwise. She would try to explain to me how the system is created, what it has done to our people, just specifically our people, because of course I am who I am. We are who we are. So yeah, we tend to focus more on our own history and how it has affected us as a people. And when my mom would try to tell me these things when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, no, no, mom, because it's not like that anymore. My teacher is white, my friend is white, it's not like that anymore. It took me to live, especially as an adult, and really see that all the things that my mom had been trying to tell me were right. And I went back and I apologized to my mother. I still apologize to my mother. And I tell my mother, Ma, you ain't crazy. You lived it. You were down south living it. She just gave me another story today, y'all, about how back in a neighborhood that is now diverse, that really didn't have a lot of us in it at one point, and children were being bussed out to a school out that way. She just told me a story about how one day her and her friends missed their school bus and had to take public transportation to school. So when they got off the public transportation bus, they still had a little bit of walk to school. And upon walking, some white children, who were hiding behind a house or something, came out and started throwing rocks at them and tried to jump them, but they were able to run and hurry up and run to school. So with that being said, this stuff isn't that long ago and it's still happening to this day. So on top of the physical stuff, we know also there's a spiritual aspect to it. And in my opinion, overall, it is spiritual. So free thinker, you're not crazy. I hope that people do not make you feel like you're crazy anymore. And if they do, trust me, in due time, if they live long enough, they are going to know the truth. It will be revealed to them and they're going to think about you. And I think about that because it's not just my mother. It's been quite a bit of people on this earthly journey that have tried to open my eyes to certain things, and I swept it under the rug. I didn't want to believe it. I was where I was on my spiritual journey at the time, but now I am where I am on my spiritual journey. And I definitely keep my eyes and ears open because there's so much more to still learn. So free thinker, you're not crazy. You're not crazy at all. And again, I am going to subscribe to your channel. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Free thinker, thank you for your wisdom. It's going to be, I got to make sure that the comments actually stay with the video. So I'm going to go in and fool around with that. But I want your comments to definitely stay in the video. Like I want people to see them if they click on this video. But that is it. Thank you, Flower Ocean, for joining. Even though I think this information, I don't know, I can't say this information is too older for you. Like, yeah, no, it's definitely meant for you to see as well. But thank you all. That is it. I'm going to go ahead and get off this live, but I hope y'all have a great rest of the day. Talk to y'all soon.